Hey guys, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at Outriders. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. I'm still feeling a little sick. I have been pretty sick the last couple of days, but actually today actually hasn't been too bad, feeling a little bit better. So hopefully the next couple of days I'll start to feel a little better and actually edit these videos. I have like I shouldn't say a bunch, I have like 3 videos that I've been behind in editing, this one being one of them. But yeah, let's just get right into it, guys. This is the Outriders review. It did take me quite a while to finish this. There are a few things that kind of went into that. I knew that this was going to be a co-op, kind of play with friends, and so I really wanted to play with my brother-in-law and one of my brothers, and so whenever they weren't able to play, I kind of like didn't play for a little bit because I really wanted to play with them. And this game is definitely much more fun with just like a lot of games, they're much more fun with friends. But after a while, they just our schedules just weren't ever lining up, so I just went ahead and I beat it. So but yeah, this is a new game, new IP called Outriders, by Square Enix, developed by People Can Fly. I don't know too much about them. I looked them up, and it sounds like that they do. They helped a little bit on Fortnite and some other, shooting type games. I just remember Fortnite, and I could be wrong on that too. Man, my voice is already going away. But I had a fantastic time playing this game. I do have lots of pros and lots of cons, so it's kind of a mixed bag here. And just like with all my other videos, we're going to go ahead and I think we'll actually go through the cons first, just to kind of get those out of the way so we can talk about all the good stuff at the end. So real quick, this came out in, I think, April 1st is when it came out, so it's been a little over a month now that this came out. And when I played the demo, lots of people played the demo. Demo was, I thought the demo was fun. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just enough to get me interested, and not enough to pre-order. I don't pre-order anything now. Friggin' Anthem has forever ruined me from pre-ordering. And it's funny because a lot of people were comparing this to Anthem and to Destiny because it does give you those type of vibes, especially since Outriders you choose between 4 different classes, kind of like Anthem, but Anthem you choose, 4 different suits. Excuse me, guys. Like I said, I'm still a little sick here, so bear with me. But yeah, demo was great, and so I got this, and actually the very first day, maybe not even the first day, it was the second day, because I bought it, wasn't able to play because I had work. It just had a super rough launch. Like, it was not necessarily glitching, but server crashes, like non-stop. I could barely play the game, or what would it do? It gets stuck on like the loading screen, like where it brings up and it says to start game, and it would sit there and it would spin and spin and spin. And I let it sit there for a little bit because I was like, you know what, maybe it'll fix itself. And it sat there for like 15 minutes. That was the longest I was willing to let it go. So that was kind of the big thing right off the bat, is the rough launch, and that really doesn't leave a good first impression, when you get the game and you can't even really play it. But they got that patched out, I feel like, fairly quickly. Like I said, when I first started this, I really wanted to play with my family, and so we played the first day. Actually, I played the first day by myself, and then I waited a couple days, and then we both played together, and we played like the 3-day weekend. So yeah, the launch was pretty rough. Kind of going off, I got a little bullet points down here of things. A lot of this stuff is kind of nitpicky stuff, but that was like the launch was the only thing that was really like technical bad that I noticed. There obviously could be lots of stuff. I played on the PlayStation 5. It came out on all platforms, PC, Xbox, so your guys' experiences may be different. Another thing that I didn't really like is that whenever it did the cutscenes, it had like this weird like shaky camera type cutscenes, and I didn't like it. It was kind of hard to follow, and it would have just, I know they were trying to do something different, but it kind of just seemed like they could have just let it be solid and not be all shaky, and it would have been much better. The shakiness of the cutscenes really just didn't make sense, and I didn't really like it very much. Next little bullet point here is this is more of like a nitpicky stuff, but some of the weapon drops that I found annoying, because this is a looter shooter, and I would be having a certain weapon, and it was decent, you know, but then I would go through this whole level, and I'd open, like, every time I opened a chest, it seems like I would get weapons, which was fine, weapons and gear, because it's a looter shooter, but everything I got was always weaker. Like, it took forever for me to find stuff that was actually worth, I don't know, leveling up. And the reason I say that is because even there's a certain part where you're guaranteed legendary weapons at certain parts in the story. And so we were playing this one part, and I finally got my first legendary weapon. I was super excited about it, and its DPS and like just overall stats were like far below my other weapon. And I was like, oh, you know what, maybe I just need to upgrade it because my other weapon's upgraded. Nope, I upgraded it. It was like the matchmaker or something like that. Cool looking gun. All the legendary weapons look freaking awesome. Not hating on that at all, but I was just kind of disappointed. And it could have been my tier level, totally a thing. I know at the beginning I wasn't really paying attention to too much of the difficulty tier settings. I just put it always on the highest difficulty, so yeah, and every time you died, it would take a chunk off of your tier. So that was one thing that was kind of a nitpicky thing, but once I figured it out, I was starting to get more weapons that were actually getting better than what I had. But a lot of the times they weren't, so... another thing that I didn't quite like is that like literally all the enemies are bullet sponges. It doesn't matter where you hit them or what you do, all of them just like there's times like when I was playing with my brother-in-law, we were fighting a certain boss, and you're just literally just shooting him non-stop with bullets. Everything's just a bullet sponge. So I mean, I kind of expected that to happen, so I shouldn't say it's necessarily a con because I knew it was going to be like that. Had a feeling. Moving on to the next bullet point here. The story was kind of eh. It had some interesting parts, but just overall the story wasn't wasn't a story-driven game, I would say. I mean, it did have a story, but it wasn't necessarily compelling, which kind of goes into the next bullet point, is that the character development, because there's a certain part kind of going into like character development. There's a certain scene where one of the characters dies, and you just don't really feel anything for it because they didn't spend any time trying to develop this character. You just kind of meet him a little bit at the beginning, and then you're kind of stuck in like a cryo sleep or something like that, and then they wake you up, and it's like 30 years later, something like that. And so there's just some character development, and you know, they try to get you to feel for these things, but they just didn't do enough job building up some of these characters, so you just didn't really care for it. Like when this character died, I was just like, oh. I mean, I was surprised. I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. But I actually don't care because he was kind of a side character, and all he did was just cuss a ton anyway. So, yeah, I mean, those were the kind of the things that I thought were cons. Let's just recap real quick. The rough launch, shaky cutscenes, didn't like, crappy weapon drops for most of the game until towards the end. Story was pretty meh, and character development was pretty bad. So, and even like the dialogue was pretty cheesy at some points, where it's weird. I couldn't tell. Sometimes I couldn't tell if the game was trying to be serious or trying to be funny. And that just kind of goes back to the story. It just wasn't super well thought out, but it did have some good points. Did have some good times where I was like, okay, this story's getting good. But overall, I would say the story was, you know, average. It was pretty average. Now, moving on to the things that I absolutely really liked about this game. First of all, the gameplay is fun. Even though all the enemies are bullet sponges, I had a ton of fun. All the weapons were super cool, for the most part. And then the abilities, all the abilities were super cool. Just kind of going real quick, there's 4 different classes. You got like the Trickster, which is what I played for the whole game. I didn't actually get to experiment too much with the other classes, but yeah, you got the Trickster. You got the Devastator, you got the Pyromancer, and then you got the Technomancer. So all kind of different things. The Trickster is kind of like a glass cannon. I found that I had a lot of damage, did a lot of weapon damage, did a lot of anomaly damage, but my health was always really low. And then the Pyromancer, I want to say he's pretty much an average. I want to say they had, because my brother-in-law played him, and he said that all his stats were kind of more or less even. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say his attack. I mean, the way it can change with weapons and stuff like that. But he's pretty the average one. And then the Technomancer was more support, throwing down turrets and shooting stuff from afar. And then you had the Devastator, which was very much tanky. Didn't do as much damage, but was able to take a lot of hits, had a lot of health, and was able to just charge right in there. Yeah, so I played the Trickster for the most part of the game. But yeah, like, so with the each of these classes, you get, I want to say, up to 9 different abilities that you unlock by the time you hit level 20. You get all of the abilities. But all the abilities I thought were pretty fun. I experimented with all of them. The 2 that you only can hold 3 at a time, but I always had the oh shoot, what is it called? Like the blade. I'm drawing a blade. Temporal blade. There we go. The temporal blade. I really like the temporal blade. It was just a 1 swipe, and if you got a mod, you could actually do it 2 times before the cooldown. And anything within like a 5-meter radius, all got that, and the enemies would explode, and it would just do tons of damage. So I really liked the temporal blade, and then I actually really liked the synchronized bullets or something like that, where basically you just put your anomaly power in the bullets and they do a ton more damage. So those 2 were pretty much the ones that I had for the entire game. And then that 3rd slot is where I really kind of just swap things out. You can get like the shield that slows everything down except for you. You can do the teleport thing where you can teleport behind enemies. I use that one actually quite a bit. It's kind of like a hit and run. You do a bunch, attack, teleport behind them, do some more attacks, and it was really good to get in and out. You had another ability where you can throw down a marker and then run into battle and start fighting, and then when you hit it again, you teleport back to where you threw down that marker. So there's lots of different abilities to kind of experiment with, and going with that to the next bullet point was the mods. And you can gear these mods to your abilities, and that was one of the things that I really liked about this game, is all the mods for the armor and for the weapons were all super cool, and you can interchange them. Unfortunately, you can only change 1 mod. You can't put 2 mods. I mean, you can have up to 3 mods on a gun per se, but you can only swap out 1. Before it won't let you do it anymore. But still, like, the whole, like, changing the mods out was really fun. Like, I really liked the temporal blade, so I had a lot of my gear and my weapons geared towards the temporal blade. Excuse me. Like, for instance, I had the one where you could do two cooldowns before, basically use the temporal blade twice before it triggered a cooldown. Yeah. And then another one was use the anomaly rounds 2 times, 2 clips before triggering a cooldown. So all the mods were super cool, super fun. I enjoyed actually customizing it and trying to figure out a good build. All the mods were super awesome. Let's see, we got gameplay abilities, kind of customization. Yeah, like I said, customization was super fun. Some of the armors, once you get a little bit further in the game, start getting really cool, and I really like a lot of the armor in the game, along with a lot of the weapons. A lot of the legendary weapons, I think at the time of recording this, I think I have 7 legendary weapons, and although I only use, 1 or 2 for the most part, but they're all like super cool looking, and I really like them. Another thing is that the co-op was always fun. Playing with my brother and playing with my brother-in-law, we always had a ton of fun. And something that I did like, especially when you're playing on those much higher tiers, is that if you do die, your buddy can revive you, or you get 1 free revive, which you do not get excuse me, which you do not get if you're playing solo. So like if you're playing solo and you die, like you're dead. You start back at the last checkpoint and you go again. But if you're playing with a co-op, someone dies, you can revive them, but you only get one revive. But if someone else revives you, then they can just keep reviving you. So the co-op was super fun. It kind of incentivized you guys playing together, so I really liked that. It was a lot of fun. Going on to the next thing that I really enjoyed is all the areas in this game. All the areas were really diverse. You go from like a snowy mountain, you can go inside a volcano, to like a jungle forest, and then to the desert. So like there was a lot of variety in the areas that you go to. So even though a lot of the enemies, the combat was, you know, the same, and all the enemies were bullet sponges, it did make up for it because the enemies were super cool, which kind of goes into the next point. All the enemies were really cool, especially all the beasts. As much as like the enemy, or I shouldn't say as much, the enemies that use like weapons and stuff like that, they all kind of look the same for the most part, except for some of like the bosses and the elites or whatever. They have like the skulls on their health bar. But when you're fighting like the beasts, all the beasts I thought were really cool. Like literally all of them. I thought they were all super sweet, especially when you do like the hunter missions and you can go out and actually hunt some of these bigger beasts. They were all super cool, and I really liked that. So that kind of, even though like I said, all the enemies were bullet sponges, it really makes up for it because all the enemies were cool and all the areas were new and fresh, and I freaking loved it. Going into kind of the last thing, is I actually really enjoyed most of the boss fights in this game. Were really fun. I want to say the best boss fight, or I should say the most memorable boss fight, and the most fun, I would say, was the spider one, which was pretty early in the game. Yeah, that was a fun boss fight. But a lot of the other boss fights were actually pretty fun as well. Minus like the last boss on like the there's like the very last side mission, and it's called like Sons of Enoch or something like that. And the last boss fight I feel like is the hardest boss in the game. Maybe it's just my build was literally the opposite of his build, and so yeah, he kept like freaking killing me. But I just was struggling so much, even after beating the game and beating the main boss. The main boss I didn't think was too difficult because you can kind of figure out this pattern. But yeah, for the most part, all the boss fights were super awesome, super fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed all of them. And then going into the kind of the last and final thing, I know I already technically said that, but yeah, graphics looked pretty good. Like I said, everything looked really great. Gameplay was smooth and fun. Boss fights were awesome. Customization and mods were fantastic. And kind of thinking about all these put together, and thinking about what I'd give this out of 10, and I know probably a lot of people might disagree with me. They might. I think I'm going to actually rate this a little bit higher than probably a lot of people. But the reason is that I think about, you know, obviously all these things, but then I think about what was my experience like playing the game overall, and I actually had a lot of fun, especially playing with my brother and my brother-in-law, with my family, and maybe that's what made this game, me bump it up a little bit more, because I did thoroughly enjoy spending time with them and playing. So if I were to give this a score out of 10, honestly guys, I'd give this a solid 8 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I was originally going to give it like a 7, which is probably what a lot of people would have given it. But when I was reflecting on back, because I finished it earlier today, and when I was making these lists of pros and cons, I really was thinking about it. It's like, you know, like, other than that really rough launch, the game's been pretty fun, like, other than that first day. So yeah, I'd give that a solid 8 out of 10, guys. Have you guys played this game yet? Let me know if you have. What did you guys give it out of 10? I do know that if you have Xbox and have Game Pass, it is on Game Pass, so you don't actually need to go out and buy the disc, which is freaking awesome that it's going day one on Game Pass. Unfortunately for PlayStation users, you do have to go out and buy it. But yeah, I overall had a great experience. Thanks everyone for tuning in to today's video. I am still working on, let's see, I drew a blank here real quick. Oh yeah, I'm playing Returnal and also Resident Evil Village. Returnal is definitely taking a lot longer than I originally thought. Having a fun time with that, so I'll probably end up finishing Resident Evil Village and getting that review out in the next couple days. And I still haven't even beaten Returnal yet, so hopefully I can get that done soon. And then also, Mass Effect Legendary Edition came out today. If you guys are interested in that, go over and pick that up. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like and consider becoming a subscriber. We are super duper close to hitting our goal of 400 subscribers. As of making this video, we are at 347. Just want a big shout out to all you guys for taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. You guys are freaking awesome. Keep up all the awesome work, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.